Hello everybody, welcome to Coco's Crochet. This is Coco and I'm Litsa, and we'd like to welcome you along tonight so you can have a little listen to some of our favourite blankets. Coco's just had her apple, she's had her dinner, it is very warm here, so she's just going to have a little rest because it's just way too hot to have too many cuddles. But I will pop her down and she shall say bye-bye for now, so woof woof everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening. I know it's a little bit late or it might be very early where you are. Either way, welcome and thank you for joining us. I'm just going to give you a look at some of our favourite blankets that I've made over the last year or so. But I will start off with my absolute favourite and the very first blanket that I ever made. For those of you who haven't seen some of our previous videos, please go along, and for those of you that have, it's just a little recap just for a moment, and then there will be some new ones coming along as well. So the very first thing I learned how to crochet about 2 years ago, or thereabouts, was the granny square. And of course what I made with my granny squares was a blanket, and this is my absolute favorite blanket in the whole world because it has kept my whole family warm for a very long time and hopefully will continue to do so. It was very simply made using my favorite yarn at the time, and still one of my favorite yarns, the good old USA Spot Saver. It is 100% acrylic yarn. It is about a 10 ply, as you can see here, and I always use a 6mm hook with this one. Although with this very first blanket that I made, I did use a 5mm because that's what he recommends on the ball band. But I did then subsequently make other projects with a granny square stitch, and I did make them using a 6mm hook because I just found it was better for my tension because I am a fairly tight crocheter. So that's the very first blanket that I made. I'll just pop it on the floor. Then shortly thereafter, or within 6-month period, or maybe a little bit longer than that, apologies that I don't have the timelines perfect, but one of the other blankets that I made using the granny stitch is one of these ones, which is basically, I'm sure you can see it up close there. It's made of a whole combination of granny squares. So you make them traditionally square, and what I did was I used the two different greens, and all I used for this was just millends. I used 2 bags of millends, which this blanket I think I had guesstimated was around the around the $12 mark. But at the time, when I calculated how many balls of yarn I used, so it was around 2 packets of millends. And I just had seen this pattern on Instagram. So basically I had a look at it, and all they did was just tilt the granny squares to the side and made little diamond shapes when they connected them all. And each and every granny square was made, and I think sets about 5, because it went from the darkest green to the lightest green, and each row you would add up more dark green and less of the lighter green until you completed X amount of squares, and then you joined them all together, and on the ends you had to make little triangles to make sure that it filled in the gaps. So there's the triangles there, and they all went down the sides and across the top, and then you had finished product, which was this beautiful blanket. I absolutely adore it, and one day I'm hoping to make it in other colors as well, but that was something that I really wanted to make, and I've done that, and I thank you for letting me share it with you. And as I got a little bit more au fait, more familiar with the granny stitch, I thought the next step would be to make a granny ripple blanket. And I absolutely love this blanket. If you look at it up close, again I use the Spot Saver yarn. I have a huge collection of all those colors. I like to buy them when they're on sale, half price. There isn't a huge range in the colors. I would guesstimate there would be around 15, but I do have them in my collection, and I because I absolutely love using, you know, that thickness of yarn. And again, that one was made just using one of the, you know, numerous, I'm not sure exactly which one, apologies, but you can find a granny ripple stitch blanket made by various makers on YouTube. So please go along and find one if you like the look of that one. And it was very easy. When you got the first row done, the ripple, then it's just so simple to follow through, and it just runs away so quickly. And you can actually make a beautiful one, I think, and maybe one day in the future I'll do that with all your scraps. So imagine, you know, doing that, just randomly picking a color and then just putting it together and creating a masterpiece of a blanket that will keep your family nice and warm. So they're the blankets, you know, that I've made using the granny stitch, which I absolutely adore, and I think most of us do. And I will probably continue to use it many times again. This one I absolutely love as well. It's made with a V-stitch, and I'll see if I can show you up close. So what I did is I did the single V-stitch, and then here, I'm not sure how well you can see it, but I did do the double here. So there's a double, just to break up the pattern a little bit. And then on the edge, I did a very simple scallop edge border. There it is there, all the way around. And this one is just simply the size of like a throw that you can use on the lounge, either on your own or cuddle up with your favorite person or with your fur baby, and just enjoy, you know, the warmth from it while you're watching your favorite show or YouTube or crocheting. So this is another one of my absolute favorites, and I love the V-stitch. I've made my daughter one as well. Hers is quite lengthy, and it's got the tan, the brown, olive green and the grey in stripes, and it's a lovely blanket too. I don't have it here unfortunately to show you, and I don't even have a little photo of it, but you know, if you know the V-stitch, it's pretty much the same thing, just the color change. This one again was made using a Spot Saver yarn, and it's the tweed in the cream, and it is one of my favorite yarns to work with. So that's that one. Now, something new that you haven't seen, that I haven't shown you before. I will pop on my glasses so that I can read some stats for you. Now, this one is the Mile a Minute blanket. Oh, there's the bottom of it. That's what it looks like. So basically, that's what it looks like. So what you do is you make these strips on their own first, and then you make a border, and then you connect the join as you go. So I use the Mile a Minute blanket tutorial by Krista from The Secret Yarnery, and I really enjoyed making this blanket because her tutorial is absolutely beautiful to watch. She's, you know, she's very clear and concise about what you need to do. I used all mill ends for this blanket here. So once again, it was a very thrifty blanket to make. So again, you can use any color combination that you like, and you might even choose to do every single stripe a different color if you have a small amount of all your leftover scrap yarns. So I used, as you can see here, the olive green, which I love that color, and this beautiful purple. Anyone that knows me long enough knows purple is my favorite color, and this color that I'm calling tangerine. I really like those colors together. Now with this here, I used one strand of the Value Kringle Sparkle yarn. It's got that beautiful sparkle in it, because I combined it with, and I don't have one here to show you, apologies, I ran out of the white. I used an 8-ply or DK yarn, you know, number 3 weight, which was a little bit finer than the usual 8-ply yarn. So I thought, you know what, if I combine that with this, it'll bring it to the same thickness as the rest of the yarn, because the rest of the yarn is about, I would say, a 10-ply as well. Because it was mill ends, I'm not sure if it was like the Spot Saver, but you know, just from feeling it, it felt very similar to me. So that's why I opted to use the 2 strands for the white. and I'm not sure, can you pick up the sparkle there? And it actually added a beautiful effect to the whole blanket. So I'm so glad that I chose to do that. And I've only ever made one of these mile a minute blankets, but I would certainly make this pattern again. I know that there are various tutorials on it, but as I said, I used Krista's from the Secret Yarnery. Highly recommended. One of my girlfriends, Jane, has made her very own as well, and I think she's starting a new one using the same tutorial. So it is tried and tested, so I just thought I would mention it to you tonight, and I love that blanket. It's one of my little showpieces as well. Now, I will show you some star blankets. I have made numerous star blankets. I absolutely love making them. They're one of my favorite blankets to make. The very, very first one that I made is this one. And I did use the Spot Saver. I used it in the navy and in the white. Excuse me, just rolled off the table. Here I am. So I've used the navy and the white, and because it picks up a little bit darker when you see it, but it is navy. Now with this one, can you see the center there? It almost looks like a little snowflake, but the rest of it is just all double crochet. So when you get the initial star made, the middle bit made, then it's just very easy to make the star pattern. I thought it would be very, very tricky and very difficult, but it certainly is not. This one that I made here is by Bella Coco, and it's 7-year-old, the tutorial, and it's tried and tested, and it works out beautifully. What I did was I used the white for the center, and then I did 3 rows of the blue, 1 row of the white, 1 row of the blue, and 1 row of the white again. And then I repeated that pattern to get this size 5 times. So it is a substantial size blanket. It's funny, look how pretty that looks. It's funny because sometimes I put it on, it's almost like a hoodie. So I put it around me when I'm watching TV or crocheting, and I put the little top part of the star over my head, and it looks like a little hoodie. So that's that one. But I must say that since making that one, I discovered the pattern by the Crochet Crowd. Now, I believe this pattern is about 12 years old when I was looking at the YouTube tutorial. And going back to this one, I used a 6mm hook because that's my favorite hook to use with a Spot Saver. So jumping back to this one, I love this blanket. It is so happy. I did absolutely no color control whatsoever. It is about 2 bags of millends. I got so lucky with that. And at the time, I think I paid like $5 a bag because I had it sitting in my stash for a while. So this beautiful, huge blanket cost approximately $5 to make. I did use a 7mm hook. Now, one of my girlfriends, Lisa, who comes along to Coco's Crochet as well, she fell in love with this blanket, and what she did, she went across to Spotlight and she found the Lion brand Landscapes yarn in the color Boardwalk, which is very, very similar, and I believe she ended up using about 8 balls to make a blanket this size. So just keep that in mind if you like the size of this one. And it is the span of the 2 points go from one arm to the other, and I'm about 5'5", so that'll 165 centimeters, so that'll give you an idea how big this blanket is. So just keep that in mind. This size was about 8 balls of the Lion brand Landscapes. Absolutely love this one. It's very squishy as well, and I just love how happy it makes me with all the bright colors that are in it. And next step to the stars, because like I said, I fell in love with this pattern so very, very much. I had a whole little group of little babies I wanted to make blankets for. This one is just a little Stampler, and it's the exact same, how cute is that? It's the exact same pattern from the Crochet Crowd, like the one I just showed you. And I have made, how many did I make? I know that I've written it down because I didn't want to forget. So I've made 4 other little baby ones. Here's a couple of little photos of the ones that I have sent off. These were made about a year ago, and there were another two that I don't have with me. So they went to twins, little brothers. So hello Talia and hello Jordan. We love you very much. They're all, you know, growing up now and tottering around. They're so beautiful. And I also have given away another two, one to a brand new little bubba and one that was about 1 year old at the time. So I absolutely love making those, and I will continue to make these because they are so happy and so beautiful. You can use them on the cot, you can use them on the lounge, you can even pop it on the floor for them to play on. So they're very, very versatile. All of the ones that I made for the babies though, I made them using the 8-ply yarn, like this one, the Marvel 8-ply, which is a DK weight number 3, and I used a 5mm hook for them. And the other blanket, which I don't have with him, which is a star blanket, but it's a 12-point star blanket, was this one. And I made that for Miss Mia when she got her big girl bed. And this one is by Fiber Spider. That's the pattern that I use, but you can certainly find many, many tutorials on it. But that's the one that I used. And that was the pattern from about 5 years ago. So that's my star blanket collections. Now I'd like to show you the Lucky Last blanket, and this blanket is by Krista, once again from the Secret Yarnery. Pardon me, here it is. Now this was a crochet along, but I didn't do it as a crochet along. I just did it over a span of, because the crochet along was in 2021. It's called the Secret Stitches Cowl 2021. So basically what it is, it's 12 squares, different stitches. It's like a stitch sampler, and I've always wanted to do one of those because I've always looked at them and thought, wow, they look really cool, very interesting. And I use 6 colors, so I repeated them twice each. What I'll do is I won't open it up straight away because it is quite a big blanket, but I'll just show you some of the squares. So this one here is called the Berry Biscuit. And then I've got, when I flip it over, what have I got here? The violet one is the Diamond Trellis. So if you can see that one there, that's beautiful. And then let's flip it over again. And we've got, what color is that? The Aqua, that's the Candy Cradle. And the blue one, that's the Sunday Granny here. Oh, sorry guys. There you go, there's the Sunday Granny. Now, there are, as I said, 12 squares. I'll try to open it up so you can have a bit of an idea what they look like. Sorry, it's really hard to show you guys on camera all of them, but very easy to follow. Krista's tutorial, once again, she has broken it up beautifully in 12 parts, so you can follow along. Then what you do is, after you create each and every square, you need to have some stitch markers, because all the way around each square, see here, what you do is you put in your stitch markers, and in each corner she recommends that you put a stitch marker. Then across the top, you eyeball it and you put 12 markers, and down the sides you put 14 stitch markers. Now the size, the dimensions is 12 inches by 14 inches approximately, or thereabouts. And then there's 30 centimeters by 35 centimeters. So what you do is, when you've put your stitch markers in, you literally go around the edge and, sorry, let me get one here. And in here, you can see there's a single crochet, and in between there's 2 chains. And you do that all the way across, which gives you a nice even edge to build your edges on, so that you have a beautiful squared off square, because they were, all of them came out beautifully, but you know, you had to square them off. I'm sorry, they're not looking very square on camera, but so that's how you create the beautiful edges and the borders, and that stitch count is perfect for when you have to join them. So as I said, you do a single crochet and 2 chain all the way across around each square, and then you join them. I used the white to join, to join the squares with, and then you create a beautiful border with any color that you like, but I thought that the gray would complement them. Very easy, just double crochets. So that just finishes it all off nicely. Once again, I did use a lot of scrap yarn that I had. Some of it was mill ends, some of it was my spot saver, and I did use a 6mm hook. So this was something that I really enjoyed making, and what I love about this is I've had it, I showcase it in my yarn room, and where we sit for Coco's Crochet Corner on a Wednesday night, and my friends have been known to go up to it and admire, not only admire the blanket, but also look at the various stitches and use some of those for their very own projects. So this is why a stitch sampler blanket is amazing, and I'm very happy that I made one. I am trying to make a Tunisian crochet one. I'm trying to create that, and I'm practicing my Tunisian crochet. When I get a little bit better at it, I will show you, but the only difficulty that I'm having to come to terms with is that if you've ever done Tunisian crochet, it curls, most of the stitches curl, and I've never really blocked anything. So please watch this space. That's something that might be something I complete and show you in the future. But for now, thank you for joining us for some of our, sharing some of our favorite blankets. Over here it is quite warm at the moment, but they have certainly been used and loved for winter and everything in between. So once again, I hope you've enjoyed hanging out with us. We've certainly enjoyed coming on and saying hello to you. It is the end of another week. I can't believe that we're even closer to Christmas now. So as soon as I get these markets done next week, I'm going to start focusing on Christmas and making some Christmas makes, and I'll share those with you guys. Maybe I'll even finish my Christmas blankets. Let's see how we go. Fingers and toes crossed. That's all I need, just a little bit more time. So as always, I hope you've all gotten in some crochet time of your own, and you've enjoyed, some relaxation time with family and friends. That's always very important. Or doing whatever makes you happy, whatever brings you some joy. And as always, I hope you've done it with kindness, and always have remembered to give yourself that kindness first. Until we meet again, take care, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye for now.